Welcome back everybody, this is bnsfrailnut doing a layout update for the North Metro Model Railroad Club. What you're looking at here is kind of just the track plan. It's kind of just a little refresher what we've been doing. So we'll start off with just kind of the overall track plan. The phase one, which we've been laying down, is going to be this portion up in here, and then it's basically all of this over here, and that has been basically connected at this area. So what I'm also going to show you here is kind of a little phase 2 sneak preview, which will be basically this Northtown Yard portion and the Duluth Piers, and then returning around. So I'll give you a little sneak preview of that. We've been actually working on it, so we'll take a walk over to the mock-up here. And what you're looking at is kind of just a little test run of what the Benchwork can kind of hold up to as far as width and everything, with our staging yards and everything. Lower level here would end up being Duluth, and then obviously the scenic divide, and there will be basically Duluth City skyline on this side with, to those people that know what Northtown, Minnesota looks kind of like as far as the BNSF yard, it's going to come up with the bluff and then kind of lean into the city. So with that, we got kind of the track spacing, and as far as the overall Northtown yard is going to be 48 inches across, and that's kind of the track spacing there with industries, grain mills, stuff like that. And then the Duluth will be into this area here too. So, and that'll actually extend out another 6 inches or so. But this will also kind of give us an idea what we can do for the benchwork underneath. This will allow us to have the tracks that drop down between levels. And then this will be a lower staging yard here. So this extending, I want to say 70 something feet. It'll be 2 yards. Both yards will be about 30 feet long, and that's enough to hold one prototypical train for the layout. So they'll just kind of be laid upon each other. So yeah, that's kind of a little sneak preview to what Northtown will kind of look like. And just basically imagine this stuff going way on down to that good old poster of Michael Jordan going for the big old dunk. So it's a nice 70-foot something run. So that is kind of a sneak preview to Northtown phase 2. So we're working out the numbers, kind of crunching how much it's going to cost. It's going to be a lot, but we're going to build it in phases as we go. So this is kind of the prep areas, kind of a little behind the scenes look, which I don't show too often. We got the extra supplies that we need, that extra track, wire, soldering stuff. I'll show you guys the electronics cabinet and that kind of stuff. So we'll move actually onto that, and then we'll finish up with the actual kind of just layout updates. So what we've been working on is obviously the electronics. We have the power routing into the cabinets. These boosters are going to be mounted on little shelves, and then everything will look nice and neat, so we can kind of troubleshoot. So all the cables will be labeled and everything like that, all the locations. Now we'll actually show you that here. We can take a walk down to the Brainerd area, because that's the first part that's kind of finished here. So we'll mosey on down, and as we've had this portion up for phase 1, it takes a long time to get around this place, so you have to bear with me. Not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing. So this is what finished product will end up looking like here. So we're underneath the layout, underneath the Brainerd area, and what you're looking at is going to be all the kind of power districts and everything. Everything's labeled either by the little label makers or just written on the wood, but everything's routed as far as connecting between district and district. We're using DCC specialties or specialists for those boards there, and then there's 2 boards down there for the reverse loops, and you can see the kind of cables coming in. So it comes together nicely once it's all finished, labeled properly, so we, like I said, we can troubleshoot and all that fun stuff. So, and then these will be fed power. Basically, we coming into our power grid right there, and then basically the pipes going overhead, and then where we need to run down, we do to run into the layout, so there's nothing basically kind of hanging out of the layout that's not going to be against the pole that we can actually eventually cover up. So, and then as far as the other stuff goes, a quick thrown in EP5 panel, but connecting all the local net, and then you can see kind of how everything's color coded for the wiring, main lines, and so on. And then as far as just to reiterate on the soldering, for each piece of flex track has its own feeder wires, just to give us a nice continuous flow of the power. And then we'll cruise around Staples. I'll show you the electronics cabinet, and then we'll kind of get back onto the layout update, what we've done. I'll show you a little backtrack right here. I'm going to show you this power cabinet going here. So this is the other block. So the boosters are up there, and power coming in. And then eventually, once we get all the boosters in here and everything, it will be air cooled in here, so keeps the dust out, keeps everything nice and organized. And nice little electrical cabinet. We actually were able to salvage these units from basically the basement when we took over the space. So it was just some of the stuff we reused, cleaned it out. This thing was actually full of circuitry and a whole bunch of stuff like that, so we ripped it all out and basically laid out the design. One of our members kind of came up with this little plan for holding all the boosters and everything. So that's the good old lovely electrical cabinet. So we'll cruise over to our electronics cart. This little guy houses all the extra wires and all the extra servos and everything in there. And then all the other stuff too. So keeps everything nice and organized. We can roll it along. And then other miscellaneous stuff in here. And then we got a little kind of rail soldering kit, and actually seeing one of our members putting together a switch. So that keeps everything on this thing.
Messy ass.
It's an organized mess. So that is going to be kind of a little behind the scenes look of all the stuff we use to get this thing up to what it is. As far as our club membership, we're just over 30 members now. Great bunch of individuals. Everybody's got their strengths and weaknesses, and everyone kind of steps up and helps each other out. So we've got a good group of guys here, and obviously if you've been following these videos, you can kind of watch the progress as it comes alive and see what this group is kind of accomplishing in the time frame. So it's a great club to be in. So if you're in the local Twin Cities area, I highly recommend checking this place out. And if you care to join, we accept all types of members. So young, small, old, it doesn't matter what you are. As long as you like model trains, you can come on out and play. So we'll get into an update now as far as the actual railroad goes. Sitting in the Coon Rapids kind of Big Lake area, nothing has really changed. We haven't gotten much more of the track in here. Still kind of just taking a little hiatus to the electronics kind of taking over. Because now we got the benchwork up and it's allowing us to troubleshoot and everything. As far as all the main lines and sidings, all that stuff, it's all attached as far as the staple sub and the Hinckley sub. So we're coming into here. This is actually one of the last locations we just tacked down, the city of Cambridge, and some of the sidings and industry spurs. So Cambridge for the most part is complete. And scenery, obviously, as everyone knows with the layout, it comes in time. We will be probably playing with some of it, but we'll just kind of see when it happens, so it's not a rush for the scenery. Some of the fascia has been placed up now. We're getting the nice curved edges in here, nice and secure. We're coming back around to the Hinkley underneath here, underneath St. Cloud. And the last time I showed you, we just had the connection back here on this line. That's one of the temporary joins over to the Boylston-Saunders area. And then also the staple sub connection here. And that's always been connected. So, but those are just temporary joins. Once the helix goes into phase 2, those will come out and the tracks will actually go off into their respective lines. So coming back here, one of the newest additions is the St. Cloud cutoff. It's all been laid in as far as the switches. They're tacked down, so they just need to be spiked. And then that just needs to come over and connect with those switches. And so as you can kind of see here, we're cheating in some spots. Our switch builders like AJ that you just saw, they just get sick of building the 400 switches that we need on this thing, so we're gonna cheat if we can. And we're lazy too, so if we can afford the money, we're gonna do it. So coming back, this industry is ready to be spiked down or track laid in there. And then backing off underneath these lines, this is that connection that's gonna go, when I get over there, it goes into Brainerd. But this track basically becomes one of the actual Ys underneath. And this will actually eventually go into the helix. Or we can keep that switch there too. But that's going to be connecting into Cambridge in the back underneath. And then this line will be continuing around. And we have the actual Y connection right there. So that's one of the reverse loops. And coming up to the nicely done bridge. And then working on the city of Rush City and working on the big mill that's up there. So those tracks are being laid in and finishing the switches on the back side. And so we got the Hinkley down here. This track is actually the St. Cloud cutoff, so that's been laid in there. And then the staple sub in the back. And now, once we actually get the St. Cloud cutoff rejoined, we'll actually have the two tracks that come into the Hinkley staging, which is underneath staples. And that's this portion down here. So that is pretty much as far as all the new track that's been laid on the layout. Everything else is pretty much what I've shown before. The one other thing I will I think I did a little spot on this last time, but about this staging yard underneath. This is technically the Hinkley staging, so this is kind of where it comes to an end and then rejoins back up where it meets up with Brainerd. So what we're going to be doing for a first round of staging, as I showed last time, just to the left of the grain train is going to be a parallel kind of track that will continue down to a reverse loop way down there. You can kind of see it in the center of the track there with the roadbeds laid down, and that will end up being a 4-track yard, and will come out on this basically metal piece here. And then once we get over here, we'll do a nice big Y, and we'll have a reverse loop here for engines and the staging going down back there along that whole wall. And then we'll also have the Monticello sub elevated above that, so more track to come down the road. So for now, we're going to leave that off with the layout update and come back and see us soon. We'll talk to you guys later.